Hi everybody, Shauna Corden here. I am really excited to tell you about my brand new book, Meet Me in the Middle. I wanted to answer a couple of questions that people have forwarded to me asking about this book and where it came about, and it seems so different than my first book, and so why did I go about this? So let's get started. So, number one, why did I write this book? The true and honest answer is I was reading a book that a colleague had recommended to me, and I won't name the name of the book because I think it is quite valuable for a lot of people. But instead of reading the beginning book, I thought, oh, I'm a overachiever. I'm going to jump right into the high achiever version. And it made me so angry because it was such a victim-related book, and it took no personal responsibility for the situation that the person or persons had found themselves in. And I thought, this is not the way we're supposed to be wired. We're not supposed to operate in this way. And it reminded me of a book that I had read maybe 20 years ago that I will also not name, that was this surrender book, where it was like, okay, you're going to play this space of, you're going to just be in service all the time with no regard for yourself. So the contrast between those two books just made me so mad. Plus I was seeing a pattern with all of my clients, with my friends, with my family, where we were heavy in the election cycle. We were in the middle of the pandemic, and people who had been friends for 20 plus years, family members, dear to one another, all of a sudden we're like, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm stepping away. I'm cutting you out of my life. And it happened in a couple of different ways. In some ways, it was this silence where people just withdrew. They were trying to protect their space. They were trying to protect themselves. And so they just stopped returning phone calls, or they wouldn't voice their opinion, or they just really shut down. And then the other half of my clients and friends and family would get right in somebody's face and go, you're wrong, and I don't believe that, and that's not the way it is. And they would be aggressive in fighting for their opinion. And I thought both of these situations are wrong. The way we were going about it and the conclusions that we were drawing from it. So then I started doing some formal research. I started interviewing people. I started collecting data, and I started to make some observations about how people were behaving and what the results were and what the problem with that approach was. And really it was everybody screaming how important diversity is, but they're not welcoming true diversity, which is diversity of thought, right? The reason that in organizations we have recruited people from diverse backgrounds is not that so we have groupthink. It's because of the richness that tapestry brings to any given situation, whether we're trying to solve problems for consumers, whether we're trying to look at different approaches. As a coach, I run mastermind groups. I used to have a mastermind business, and the more diverse that group is, the better the ideas are that come out of that group. Because if you have a group of engineers all in the same group, they will all approach it with their STEM background. And a great example of this, Jack Canfield, I think, tells this story about an organization that was dealing with freezing on transformers for power lines, etc. And all these people were trying to figure it out in the room, but they were all very similar background people. And it got to the point where they were just so frustrated, they started joking. They were like, oh, maybe we could train squirrels, and we could get them little hard hats, and we could do this, and we could do that. And the woman who was in the room, this is a dated example, so that in this case, the woman was the administrative assistant, said, you know, when I was in Vietnam as a nurse, I think was the story, when those helicopters came in, the wind from those blades just blew everything in a 1/4 mile, radius. And the room went silent because they realized that she had the solution to their problem. If we flew a helicopter by all of these power lines, etc., the wind would blow the ice off. We wouldn't have to train squirrels to climb poles to remove the ice, etc. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about diversity. We're talking about the richness that comes in with that. So I wrote this book because I wanted to kind of restore the peace and have people rekindle relationships that they had eliminated because of diverse thought, and get back to this civilized approach of let's agree to disagree on this topic, but also recognize how important diversity of opinion is and how it creates better solutions. So that was why I wrote the book. I really wrote it for people in the workplace, although it applies to worship groups, community groups, friends and family, etc. I can't tell you how many conversations I had about how am I going to get through Thanksgiving dinner with clients, etc. during interviews. It's very organized, similarly to my first book, Coach Culture, in that it really talks about the what it is, why it's important, how to do it. And then in this case, in Meet Me in the Middle, we're talking about what to do right now. So how to prevent it in terms of your behaviors and how you can welcome and foster that rich, diverse discussion and hold space for multiple opinions, not create a group of yes men or yes women, but also what to do right now if you've already separated, if you've already had the fallout, how do you reconcile? So that's how it's organized. What's in it for the reader? Well, hopefully every leader is going to pick up a copy of the book. After each little section, there is a group of questions that are designed for the leader to facilitate discussion in team meetings as icebreakers, things like that. And it's really based on the principles of engagement for employees. What is it that makes them feel like they belong, that they can grow, that they can give, and that the organization is going to give them things in addition to that. And so the leader is there to facilitate that discussion with a coach approach. Strong listening skills, really powerful open-ended questions, and not trying to force a consensus, because a consensus isn't going to solve any problems. It's really there to foster the discussion and then draw the elements from multiple solutions together to create the very best diverse solution. So I hope you'll run out and grab a copy of the book. I am here to talk about this book with your teams. I'm here to do talks on that and workshops. If you really want to foster this diversity and really create some more peace with your teams, I'm here to help. So you can contact me at shauna@shaunacorden.com to book a time.